Hi everyone, welcome to week 1 of your Pharmaceutical Procedures 1 course. My name is Sarah Davis and I will be your instructor for the next 10 weeks. My contact information is found within the classroom. You can reach me via email or you may call or text me. My phone number is listed there as well. And if at any point you have questions on any of the topics we cover, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. This entire course is going to deal with some of the calculations that you're going to be doing, whether in a retail pharmacy or in an acute care setting. The first couple of weeks are just some basic things about different things about numbers and things like that. This particular week, we're just looking at Chapter 1. The chapter is called Addition and Subtraction of Decimals, but there's a bit more to it than that. So we're not just adding and subtracting decimal numbers. We're kind of looking at the reasons why we have decimal numbers in pharmacy and what they mean and things like that. The one thing I do want to encourage you to do when you're working through these chapters is to make sure you're using a calculator. They are going to show you in this chapter how to do this addition and subtraction the long way, or by hand, I guess you could say. But it's really important that you know how to use your calculator properly as well. So make sure you're checking your work with your calculator, and when you are turning in your assignments, if any work is required, make sure you're writing that work down. And by work, I mean anything that you may have had to write down yourself or put into your calculator is what I would consider work. Now, there's no wrong or right way to show your work. You may want to just type it into a Word document and submit it that way. If you choose to handwrite it, if that's easier for you, that's fine. You can scan or take pictures of your handwritten documents and upload those. But anything that you had to do to get to your answer is what I want to see. So some people are going to have more work than others, and that's fine. But the whole idea is that I want to see how you got to your answer so that I can give you better feedback. That allows me to understand what you were thinking when you got to your answer so that I can give you pointers on how to fix it if it was wrong. So let's take a look at this first chapter. I'm just going to go over some of the highlights. I'm not going to go through every slide, although the slides are obviously going to be there for you to look at. When we talk about decimals, we're going to be dealing with decimals on a regular basis in the pharmacy. And so when we look at decimals, we want to make sure that we know the place value. So that's one of the first things you're going to look at in this chapter is knowing those place values from left to right. In this particular example, we've got the millions place, which is this first zero, then the 100,000s, the 10,000s, the thousands, and then hundreds, tens, and ones. Then the decimal point is the only time you're going to hear the word and. So when you're reading a number, and represents the decimal point. Then the first one to the right of the decimal is the tenths place, hundredths place, and thousandths place. And when we're talking about numbers that we use in the pharmacy, the 3 places past the decimal point is as far as we will ever really go. You won't see decimal places past that. So if you end up with an answer with a decimal place past 3, you'll want to make sure that you're rounding properly. And depending on the pharmacist you work with, they may ask you to do your rounding a little bit differently. But for now, just round in the normal way that you've learned. So nothing special for me. When we look at a decimal point, we've got the whole number piece, which is the part to the left of the decimal, and then we have the number to the right of the decimal, which is the fractional piece. So the bigger the whole number piece, the bigger the value. So we don't even have to look at the decimal if we look at the whole numbers and they're different. So if we look then at if the whole numbers are the same, however, or there is no whole number, then we have to look at the fractional piece to just determine which number is the larger one. So here's an example. Notice that we have both whole number pieces and fractional pieces on all 3 of these. Since we have whole number pieces, we don't even have to look at the decimal part. So on this one, the largest one is going to be the one with the largest whole number. So letter C is 4.5. That is bigger than the 2 and the 3. So that is the largest number. So then the fractional side is the other piece. So if we have to look at the fractional side, we want to start by looking at the ones place, then the hundredths place, and then the thousandths place. In this case, the 1 is the tenths, then the hundredths, then the thousandths. We always want to make sure we put that 0 in front of the decimal point if we don't have a whole number. And if you took a look at my announcement this week, you would see why. It's very important that we have a 0 in front of a decimal point, because if we don't, it's easy to overlook that decimal point, and we don't want to do that because that could end up in a horrible error for a patient. So we want to make sure that we are looking at, we are making sure that we're looking at that decimal point, and the way we ensure that is to put a 0 in front of it if there is no whole number. So the rest of this presentation that you're going to be looking at is going to just show you comparing the decimal pieces. We are going to also be looking at how to, again, add and subtract using the long way or doing it by hand. But again, make sure you check everything with your calculator. And then you're going to start looking at some basic dosage calculations. So as you look through these, if you have problems or questions, please make sure you're reaching out to me. And as always, have a great week.